Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for January 9th. January 9th is the 9th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 356 days remaining to the end of the year in most years, or 357 days to the end of the year if it happens to be a leap year, which 2024 is. Today's word is retronym. Retronym is a noun that's a word or a term that's created or adapted to distinguish an original or older thing from a newer or more recent one. For example, analog watch as compared to a digital watch, a film camera as compared to a digital camera, a landline phone as compared to a smartphone, snail mail as compared to email, acoustic guitar as compared to an electric guitar, a brick and mortar store as compared to an online store. You get the idea. The term retronym is a combination of the word parts retro, which has to do with things of the past, and onym, or nym, which means name. While retronyms themselves are very old, the term British English, for example, is a retronym that came about a long time ago to distinguish between it and American English. The word retronym was coined by American journalist Frank Mankiewicz and first appears in print in 1980. Retronym. Remember, if you have a word you'd like to see in this detailed Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments and we'll take a look at it. And with that, it was January 9th, 1788, that Connecticut was the fifth state to ratify the United States Constitution, making it the fifth state of the Union. Connecticut gets its name from an anglicized Mohegan Pequot word that meant long tidal river, or beside the long tidal river, or Great River, in reference to the Connecticut River that runs through a good portion of New England and comes right on down through the middle of Connecticut. Connecticut is the southernmost state of the area known as New England and is the third smallest state by area, 29th most populous, and fourth most densely populated. Connecticut's official nickname is the Constitution State. Other nicknames include the Nutmeg State, the Provisions State, or the Land of Steady Habits. Connecticut's capital city is Hartford. Connecticut's population has increased every census since 1790, so that's impressive. The state flower of Connecticut is the mountain laurel. The state tree is the charter oak, and the state bird is the American robin. Connecticut. On January 9th, 1861, Mississippi became the second state to secede from the Union in the run-up to the war between the states, commonly called the American Civil War. This is the birthday of James Patrick Page, born January 9th, 1944. We know him as guitarist and founder of the rock band Led Zeppelin. Few interesting things about Jimmy Page that you might or might not have known are that he started out as a session musician, became one of the most sought-after session guitarists in Britain by the mid-60s. Don't know if you remember a group called the Yardbirds, but Jimmy Page was with the Yardbirds 1966 to 1968. When the Yardbirds broke up, he founded Led Zeppelin. Quite an item they were, Led Zeppelin, with 8 studio albums, 4 live albums, 10 compilation albums, 19 singles, and that doesn't even count the video albums and music videos. Led Zeppelin also toured quite a bit. They were together from its founding in 1968 until the death of drummer John Bonham in 1980, which hit Mr. Page pretty hard. As Jimmy Page worked through the grief of losing his friend, he began picking up collaborations and working again. Looks like he's still working, has a website, and I've included a link to that in the description. Can you believe Jimmy Page turns 80 in 2024? Jimmy Page. On January 9, 2007, Apple CEO Steve Jobs introduced the original iPhone at a Macworld keynote in San Francisco. And make note, The term original iPhone is a retronym. How about that? Anytime we talk about the original iPhone, it brings up a memory for me of that year at Christmas, 2007. Mom got Dad one of those new iPhones for Christmas. Little slip of a gal my mother was, and she would stand in line for my dad. I'm sure she stood in line for that iPhone, and I know that when the first Krispy Kreme donut place in South Oklahoma City opened up, there was a line of cars about a quarter to a half mile long just to pull in to the parking lot. She got in that line too. Brought 2 big old boxes of still warm Krispy Kreme donuts to the office. What a gal, my mom. It's a little slip of a gal. Back to the iPhone, though. She got him one of those original iPhones for Christmas that year in 2007. He unwrapped it, looked it over, and said, "I don't need this. Can you take it back?" Dad. But the next time I saw him, guess what he had in a little leather holster on his belt? Yep, that iPhone. And I never saw him without the latest version of an iPhone for the rest of his life. Now, before we move on into today's song, I'll just say that there have been so many creatives born on January 9th. Pretty sure I've mentioned at least some of them before in previous episodes, so I'll leave a link to one of those episodes for you in case you'd like to see what else I might have talked about in a previous year for January 9th. When the name Led Zeppelin comes up, first thing I hear in my mind is usually their instrumental song, Moby Dick. In thinking about it, I have found myself surprised at how many instrumentals they actually have. As cool as Moby Dick is, though, today I want to talk about another instrumental song of theirs from side 2 of their first album, a song called Black Mountain Side. Pretty little thing, Black Mountain Side. It was inspired by a traditional Irish folk song called Down by Backwater Side. Down by Backwater Side. As I understand it, this was a song that Jimmy Page played with an unusual tuning on his guitar. He occasionally would do that. I know that they have occasionally played Black Mountain Side together with a song called White Summer on some of their other albums and in concert. White Summer is another one of Led Zeppelin's instrumentals. I don't know that Black Mountain Side was ever released as a single, although it is only about 2 minutes, just barely over 2 minutes in length, so it would be short enough to play on AM radio. I initially heard it on an FM station that played songs you wouldn't hear on an AM radio. Black Mountain Side appeared on side 2 of Led Zeppelin's self-titled first album, Led Zeppelin. Great example of some of Jimmy Page's guitar work. Black Mountain Side by Led Zeppelin. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, check out the playlist that contains these videos, and I'll put a link to that in the description. The description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again and all. See you next time. This is the birthday.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I wasn't talking to you. Are you kidding me? Okay, hold on. We got to make that be quiet. You got to read the black part. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for... Oh, where's your microphone? Okay, we don't want to say the same thing twice. Oh, get your microphone. What is it with you and this microphone? Okay, here we go. Okay, we are still recording. That's great. Okay. How about that? We'll have a lot to edit today. Cacophony is a sound. Cacophony is a noun that you got to read it the right way. Let's start over. It's 8 o'clock, so all of the reminders are going to be dinging. I forgot to turn those off. Okay, stop it. It's 8 o'clock. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.